You're listening to the Power Agent Blogcast, empowering agents to elevate their business to the next level.
Challenges are just a guide, leading you, don't run and hide. You've got the heart, you've got the drive, feel it pound, you're alive. Power Agent.
Welcome to the Power Agent Blogcast. Today we're exploring a really fundamental aspect of our daily experience, our inherent level of happiness.
Right. It's often talked about as a happiness baseline, isn't it?
Exactly, that sort of underlying sense of well-being that, we each seem to possess.
And it's interesting because research really points to this baseline being, well, quite stable. Even when really significant things happen, major successes or maybe difficult setbacks, people generally seem to drift back to a similar level of happiness over time.
Like an internal set point for our emotions.
That's a good way to put it.
So, okay, given this tendency to sort of return to our emotional normal, how can we actually raise that baseline? How do we cultivate a more consistently positive experience of life, even when those big external changes aren't happening?
Well, that's really the core question, isn't it? And our focus today suggests it might begin with something quite simple. The simple act of smiling and extending kindness. It reminds me of that thought from Sivananda Saraswati, something like, make others truly happy as you strive to make yourself happy.
Yeah. Speak a helpful word, give a cheering smile, do a kind act.
You will feel great joy. And the real insight there, I think, is that joy isn't just something passive we find. It's something we can actively generate through how we interact with others.
So maybe think of these as smile moments, these kind of deliberate acts of kindness.
That's a nice term for it. Smile moments, big or small.
It's a conscious choice then, isn't it, to inject a bit of positivity into the world around us?
Definitely. Could just be a genuine compliment or offering a hand, even just a warm smile.
And these small gestures, they can really land, can't they? They can impact someone's day.
And as we'll get into, they really impact our own day, too.
Okay, so how does that work? How does giving out positivity raise our baseline?
Like, just try an analogy. It might help make it clearer. Imagine you have a piece of clay, pure white clay. This represents, let's say, your baseline emotional state, neutral, untainted.
Right, starting point.
Now, introduce just a few drops of red dye. This symbolizes maybe anger, resentment, negativity.
Got it, the bad stuff.
As you work the clay, knead it. That red dye permeates everything, doesn't it?
Right, spreads through the whole thing.
And it becomes really difficult, almost impossible to get it back to pure white just by, messing with it more.
So those negative experiences, those feelings, they really saturate our emotional state and make it harder to get back to that natural feeling of joy or contentment.
Precisely. The negativity kind of stains things.
Right.
But what if you start adding more white clay to that reddish mixture?
Oh, interesting. What happens then?
Well, the red starts getting diluted, right? The overall color shifts back towards a lighter shade, more neutral, closer to white.
So the white clay in this analogy is?
Those are our acts of kindness, our smile moments.
Yeah.
Each positive action, no matter how small it seems, it contributes. It helps lessen the impact of the negativity in our own lives and maybe even in the world around us.
So it's a gradual process, adding more white clay bit by bit.
And every contribution counts. It really starts with us, with the individual choosing to add that white clay.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. It's not about pretending the red dye isn't there, the negative things, but it's about actively working to counterbalance it with positive actions.
Exactly. Counterbalancing, diluting the negative.
You mentioned you had personal experience, something that really showed this contrast.
Yes, I did recently. I had this really frustrating delivery experience. A fragile cabinet arrived damaged.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and the delivery person was just, quite abrupt. Not helpful at all. It was definitely a red dye moment for my day. Left me feeling pretty negative.
I can imagine. That's tough.
But then, just a few days later, a completely different situation. Another delivery driver arrived, clearly struggling with a really heavy load, big boxes, and no help.
Just him on his own.
Yeah. And instead of just, watching from the window, I went out and offered to help him unload.
Oh, nice of you.
We unloaded the truck together. It wasn't like a heroic act or anything. It took maybe 5 minutes. But it was just a simple human connection. One person offering another a hand when they clearly needed it.
And how did that feel compared to the first experience?
Completely different. His genuine appreciation. He actually said something like, wow, that almost never happens. It was just a brief interaction, but it felt meaningful. It felt like adding a little bit of white clay to his day, And honestly, it had a really positive effect on mine, too. It shifted my whole mood.
That's a fantastic illustration of the concept. The contrast is so clear, which brings us to something practical for you listening right now. Would really encourage you, maybe this week, to actively look for opportunities. Opportunities to create your own smile moments.
And remember, these don't need to be grand gestures at all. Think really simple. Offering a kind word to a cashier. Maybe holding a door, providing a little assistance if you see someone juggling bags.
Or even just letting another driver merge in traffic when it's busy. That could be a big one.
It really can. Or perhaps leaving a slightly more generous tip than usual if you received good service.
The challenge is just this. Try to engage in just one more small act of kindness than you typically would this week. Just one extra smile moment.
And what's really significant about this approach, what we've been touching on, is the inherent reciprocity. It's not just one way.
How so?
Well, when you intentionally create these positive moments for others, you aren't only influencing their happiness or their day, you are at the same time boosting your own. It's almost automatic.
That sense of connection, maybe, of contributing positively.
Exactly that. It feeds back into your own emotional well-being. And that's what gently encourages that happiness baseline to start rising, little by little.
So as your week unfolds, maybe just keep this idea of creating smile moments somewhere in your awareness. See what opportunities pop up. And if you find yourself looking for more ways, maybe creative ways, to build those authentic connections with people around you, consider exploring strategies that focus on simple, genuine, positive interactions. They really do work.
And related to that, if you're interested in a broader perspective on managing your energy and mindset, especially in demanding times, you might find value in thinking about how to reprioritize, how to really focus on what truly matters for your overall well-being and effectiveness.
That's a good point. It all ties together.
Ultimately, deciding to lead with service, with value, and yes, with a simple smile.
Yeah.
It does more than just benefit the other person. It profoundly influences your own sense of purpose, your fulfillment. It enhances your personal impact.
And circling back to our main topic, it contributes to elevating your own individual happiness baseline.
It really does.
So, maybe the final thought for you today is to just consider that cumulative effect. The power of these small, seemingly insignificant, but intentional acts of kindness as you go about your day.
Think about how consistently adding that white clay, as we called it, can not only brighten individual lives, those included, but also maybe contribute to a more positive, more connected world around us all.